The fall season has finally started here. I will be line editing the first chapter of Project Lily. This was so much work. Hello and welcome to a cozy fall writing vlog. The fall season has finally started here. The leaves are starting to change colors and the weather is getting cooler, and I wanted to celebrate fall with its own special writing vlog. And if you're new here, hello, my name is Stephanie and I am writing my very first book, and I currently also have a cold. I picked it up on my vacation this weekend. I cannot breathe, hence the slightly red nose, but the show must go on. I can't stop writing just because I'm sick. Luckily, it's just congestion and I haven't felt bad otherwise. I'm very excited to bring this fall writing vlog to you. I've been wanting to do this for so long. I have so much fun fall stuff planned and I just love fall. It is my second favorite holiday season, only second to Christmas, of course. In this vlog, I'm gonna do decorating, baking, cooking, and of course, writing. First, I'm gonna start out by decorating my apartment for fall. I don't have that much decoration, so this will seriously only take me like a half hour. But I need to get my apartment in the fall spirit to match the fall weather, and then it will be on to writing. For this vlog, I will be working on Project Lily. It was definitely a hard choice of what to work on. I am currently working on 2 books. I have Project Lily, which is my first book, and then I have an unnamed project, which I just call Book 2. Because I still haven't really worked out the story, so I don't really know what to call it yet. I decided not to work on Book 2 for this vlog because I really wanted to do a true writing vlog, and Book 2 is still in that brainstorming and plotting and outlining phase, and there's not gonna be much writing associated with it. I finished Project Lily a little over 2 weeks ago, haven't touched it, haven't thought about it, and I haven't written in 2.5 weeks, and I really want to get back into writing. Also, where I am with Project Lily, it is technically not ready for the next stage of writing. I finished draft 2, but I still have to read draft 2 and make revisions and edits on draft 2 and figure out, what do I need to do in order to be ready to write draft 3. I haven't done any of that. So when it was time for my fall writing vlog, I was like, oh my gosh, what do I write? And I came up with the perfect solution. I will be line editing the first chapter of Project Lily. I have been wanting to do line edits for some time, and it has just never been the right time. I've always been in the middle of a draft, and my work just hasn't been probably good enough, not good enough, but like far along enough to start the line editing process. But like I said, I've been really desperate to do it because prose is one of my weaknesses. I have recognized this from day one of writing, and I really want to take this opportunity to work on my prose. I do not really want to go forward into draft 3 without working on my prose a little bit. And I don't mean the prose of Project Lily in general. I just mean honing my craft, learning small little tricks that I can implement while writing to make my prose better. That way I can implement that when I start writing draft 3. I want my draft 3 to be a lot better than draft 2, and I think one of the ways I can do this is through prose. It's definitely not going to be perfect when I sit down to draft write 3. It's definitely not gonna be perfect when I sit down to write draft 3, but I'm looking for ways to just improve in general. And I think improving my prose will improve my story a lot overall. And I think just by doing chapter 1, this vlog is just gonna be chapter 1. I think this is the best step for me because chapter 1 in Project Lily is pretty solid. It always has been from the start. There will be minor edits from the story or characters as I go along in the drafting process. Because this is the first chapter, this is where everyone first meets the characters and gets kind of the lay of the land. And there's not a lot of plot holes, and quite frankly, I haven't introduced a lot of things yet in chapter 1. And so I think that's the perfect thing for me to line edit because it's not gonna change very much from draft to draft to draft. I don't wanna line edit a chapter and then find out 2 drafts later that I'm gonna cut most of the chapter. That's gonna be a waste of my time. And chapter 1 has always been so set that I think it's a good use of my time to go ahead and line edit it. I can get my practice in and I can improve the first chapter of my book. and it will just make a big difference in my story overall. And additionally, lately, I have been having this yearning, I guess you could say, to have a good, complete chapter that is ready to send off to someone. It's kind of weird, but I've been writing this book for almost a year, and it's my first book, so I don't have any writing samples. I don't have any work that is indicative of the type of writing that I can put out in the world. And I just have always said to myself, luckily no one has asked for my work yet, but if someone was to ask for my work, I would just pretty much laugh in their face and then be like, yeah, I don't have anything that is ready to show anyone. And after writing for a year, that to me is kind of like, oh, maybe I should have something by now that I can show people. And it's not like in a business sense. It could be maybe I meet an acquaintance and they ask to read something. It's more of a case of having something ready in the event that I might need to distribute my work. It has nothing to do with my book or the story or publishing it or anything like that. It's just this need I felt for a while that I should have a little piece of something ready to go out. And by line editing this chapter, I could get really close to that. Now that I've talked to you all about fall and my love for it and what I'm going to do in this vlog, it is time to start. I'm ready. I just need to pull my decorations out of this closet, and most of the decorations are going on the fireplace, so it's not going to be like a huge change. It's not a lot of stuff, so I'll do that for just a few minutes, and then when I'm done with that, I'm going to jump right into line editing the first chapter of the book. I'm going to spend some time doing that today. I have no clue how long it's going to take. I don't know how far I'm going to get. This is my first time line editing anything, so this whole process is going to be a mystery to me. I've done a lot of learning in terms of how to line edit, but I still don't know what it means for me. I will be figuring that out as I go through today, and then I will talk to you later when I've had a chance to kind of understand what I'm dealing with and how things are going, and then we can chat a little bit about the line editing process in general. It's time for a break. I need to make dinner. And as you see, I got my fall decorations up and I have been line editing for the last few hours. Chapter 1 is almost 4 pages long and it is 2,100 words. And I have rewritten about 350 words. Clearly, I am moving at a snail's pace. I have this problem and I don't know where it comes from or what it's about, but I struggle with the first part of the book. I did it for draft 1, I did it for draft 2, and I'm doing it right now. It is that first line and that first paragraph. I really struggle to get a clear picture of what is going on. I know what's going on, but every time I write it, I'm just not happy with it. So the first line today, it was a lot of writing the first line, deleting it, writing it again, deleting it. I must have done that 10 times and I'm still not happy with it. It just got to a point where I was like, I gotta move on. Other than that, once I got past the first paragraph, it did go a lot more quickly and I've got a really good system going on how I'm doing this. What I'm doing is going paragraph by paragraph. I'm not going line by line because what I found is going paragraph by paragraph helps keep me in the story and knowing what's going on. I actually have been doing a lot of condensing, taking 2 sentences and combining them into one, or bringing 2 statements and bringing them closer together. So it helps me to see that larger picture of a paragraph to do a better job on my line editing of each sentence. And so the paragraph that I'm working on, I write the new paragraph above it. And so I'm going, I'm creating a new story above the old story, if that makes sense. And every time I finish working on a new paragraph, I delete the old one and then I'm on to the next paragraph, which is the old one. And I write the new one above that one. And so I'm basically building my new story, going down and deleting draft 2 as I go down. It's turned out to be a really great system for me. It's very efficient. I really like the way that it's working. I am focusing and finding a few different things that I am constantly correcting. First, as I mentioned previously, is the combining. I have found that I'm a little bit repetitive with my wording, either repeating the same thing later in a sentence or repeating the same thing twice in a sentence. There's a lot of condensing going on and deleting of extraneous words. Also, I don't know the term for it, there probably is one, but I use a lot of she thought that, and he realized that, and he observed that. And that is not the way you're supposed to write a book. I mean, you can have those in there, of course, sometimes, but I have that kind of sentence in there quite a bit, and I'm just trying to get rid of it. And part of that is bringing in my character's voice. I've known from day one that I am not great at bringing in my character's voice. I am very factual, I guess you could say, when I'm writing like the story. Like I dictate what's going on in the story, but the character's thoughts and emotions are a little more out there, and I have a hard time pulling them in. And so that's another thing I'm focusing on when I'm line editing, is taking the distance away from the reader. That is a little bit harder for me just because it's something I struggle with, but every time I practice it, I will get better. So, this is great practice for me. Overall, I am enjoying the line editing process. Just a personal thing for me is I love editing and making things better. You should see me try and create a work email. It takes me 30 minutes because I edit it for 20. That's just what I do. This is fun time for me. I'm not hating this process. I'm actually having a great time. So it's great. Everything is great moving forward. I'm happy with it. I'm gonna take a break now and make dinner. And tonight I am making white chicken chili in honor of the fall season. I wanted to make a chili, and I have never made white chicken chili before, but I sure have eaten it. And I wanted to make that today to celebrate my first fall meal, and then continue line editing. And I will talk to you either tonight or tomorrow morning, depends how far I get tonight and what's going on. But I will talk to you at some point and catch up with you about how the line editing is going. But I am getting hungry, and it's gonna take a minute to make this chili, so I better get started. Right along in line editing chapter 1. I had a delicious dinner. My white chicken chili was phenomenal. I was so excited to make it. It turned out really good, and it filled me up, and I was ready to write for the remainder of the evening. I didn't have as much time as I wanted because it actually took a really long time to make the chili. They put times on these recipes, and it's always longer than it says, and that was the situation. It said it was going to be 50 minutes from start to finish, and I think it was like an hour and a half. So I didn't get writing till almost 8 p.m. and it's 9:30, so I wrote for about an hour and a half. With that being said, I am up to 1,000 words written in my line editing. It definitely went faster because I hit the dialogue, and my dialogue in the beginning of the book is not that editable, I guess you could say. It's a lot of very short sentences because it's like an introduction, and these characters aren't really explaining anything to each other because they're familiar with each other. So it's very interactional, and because of that, there's just not much that I need to change. What I have changed, though, is actually sort of a plot point. I decided when I was writing draft 2, something happened and I wanted to bring it back to the first chapter. And I've known that for a long time. And even when I finished draft 2, it still made sense for me to bring that pretty much to the beginning of the chapter or the beginning of the book. And so I've been writing that little part in So technically I have added words. Let me see. My book total right now is 103,000 words, and it was at the end of draft 2, 102,500. So I've actually added roughly about 500 words to chapter 1. However, I am deleting some things because I kind of worked it into a scene that already existed. And this is like a very particular moment, and I thought that this moment would be a great place to introduce this plot point. So I've been working on that, and that's what I've been doing for most of the evening, was writing that little plot point into the scene. I am just struggling still a lot with, I don't know if it's perfectionism or what, but I just don't feel happy with what I've done. Like, it's better, but I'm just reading it, I'm just like, it's still not great, and I'm missing something. I just don't know what it is yet. I really hope I figure it out at some point. I also think part of it is I'm not entirely happy with the layout of this scene. And I think what I may end up doing, depending on the timing of it all, is once I make it through the first chapter, go through and do it again. Because then I'm still, like, at this point, I'm still working in plot points and some stuff with the characters and trying to do like technical line editing. And I think that's what is kind of messing everything up. Like tonight, I'm mostly focused on trying to work out the logistics of inserting this plot point. I'm not really focusing on line editing because I'm writing kind of like something brand new. And I'm a little bit concerned about the line editing part because this chapter has 2 scenes, like 2 locations. And I'm in the first one, and then the second scene is a lot of dialogue. So I'm trying to work in more introspective parts in my line editing for the first scene. And then when I move into the second scene, there will be some introspection, but it's going to be more, not necessarily action, but dialogue focused. From my experience so far, the line editing really, it makes a difference with the introspection and the description and the things that aren't dialogue. It can definitely make a difference with dialogue if the dialogue is lengthy. The first line of dialogue in my book is one character calling out my main character's name. Can't line edit that. That's what I mean. It's short. They're interacting. It's not really an explanation or a description or anything like that. I'm rambling because it's late and I'm tired, and that's what I do. Trying to get back on topic. So I've probably made it through, I would say, I'm probably about halfway to 2/3 of the way done with the first scene in this chapter, which means I'm 1/4 to, I'm not even gonna do the math on that one, and about 1/4-ish done overall with chapter 1. I'm really excited to give this a go tomorrow because I will have so much more time tomorrow. Today, I honestly did not have as much time as I thought I would. Cooking my dinner took forever. And I'm actually stopping a little early because I have so many dishes that I have to wash tonight. And then I ran errands all day this morning, and this afternoon I worked on this, but I was also decorating and things. So tomorrow is going to be very focused on writing. I will be doing another fall-inspired activity tomorrow, at least one, because this is a fall writing vlog. So I will see you tomorrow when I keep line editing chapter 1 and keep enjoying fall. Let's make some cookies. Have finished making cookies and finished line editing the first chapter of my book. They look delicious. I think they look fantastic. I'll give you a close-up. These are maple pecan snickerdoodles, and I saw the recipe and I was just like, I've got to try these. Normally I'm a chocolate person, but these seemed sweet enough that it would do the trick for me. Let me try. The maple is coming through like as an aftertaste, which is actually really nice. It is sweet, not overly sweet, which I love. I would definitely make these again. They are delicious. Anyway, let's talk about line editing. I forgot my computer again. Let me go get it. All right, let me highlight the first chapter so we can see how many words I have. So I have 2,661 words. That's about 500 more words than I had when I started. As I said previously, I have been adding to chapter 1 things that I forgot to talk about, or things that I wanted to insert in chapter 1 that I've known the whole time. This hasn't been oh, maybe I should put this there. These are things that I've known since writing draft 2 that I needed to put in chapter 1. With that being said, this was probably not the best time to try line editing. I'm glad I tried it. Like I said, I've never done it before, so it was a good experience for me to learn what it's like. Trying to line edit while also trying to improve my story, it's just too much. What ended up happening this pretty much whole day today and some of yesterday was I would sit down and I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna start line editing, and I would start line editing a sentence, and then I would be like, well, maybe it would be better if I talked about this here, and then I would start thinking about that. Then I would write a few sentences into the paragraph and be like, oh, that's the perfect place for it. But then I had to line edit those sentences. But because I had just written them, it was hard for me to line edit them just because they were too familiar and I was kind of in my head about what was going on in the scene. It was a little bit harder to be objective as I was actively creating. I think in the future, the best time for me to line edit is when I'm completely done making large changes to the book. Like no more moving around plot lines, no more needing to improve character arcs. Like literally all I need to do is line edit. That's gonna be the best time for me to do it because I've got too much going on in my brain right now that it's making it hard to focus on line editing. The other thing I've really been struggling with on line editing is just my lack of experience. This is my first time line editing anything, and I did watch quite a few YouTube videos about this and did a little bit of research online about how to line edit and what to look for, and I have been looking for those things. Thing is, I'm only really looking at those particular things I learned about as opposed to how to improve the sentence structure overall because I just don't know. There is a lot of line editing tips and tricks that I'm pretty sure I still don't know. And it's hard to line edit when you only have like a limited number of tips and tricks in your arsenal. I think I really need to dive a lot more into line editing before I do it again. And it's a little bit frustrating because I can read my sentences and I can tell that they need to be improved, but a lot of times I look at them and I'm just like, I don't know how. This is obviously something that I can work with over time. I can become more knowledgeable about it, do more research. This has been a really big eye-opening experience for me because I didn't think it was gonna be easy doing this. I did think it was gonna be difficult, but I had no idea how difficult it is. And as a result, it's taken me quite a lot of time to do this, and I still don't feel super satisfied. Like I'm proud of the work I've done. My book or chapter 1 is better, but I don't think it's fantastic. And I kind of was hoping after line editing chapter 1, it would be fantastic, and it's not. That's the reason I did this exercise, so I could see how my line editing skills were and that I could judge in the future maybe how long it would take me to line edit something. And also it's practice. It's doing something I haven't done before, which is always important in terms of writing, especially as a new author. It's good to flex your brain and try something different and learn new skills for your writing, and I'm doing that. It may not have been a great success this time around, but I'm trying. Because I was having so much struggles between line editing and making my story better and all this stuff, I'm deciding to give this a second shot tomorrow. I plan to truly sit down and line edit the entire first chapter tomorrow. I have to say, I did sort of line edit the first chapter. I interspersed it with all the character stuff and the story stuff and the plot stuff. And I want to truly give line editing a chance where I don't focus on any of that, because unfortunately that's not what I did. the last 2 days. I want to see if I can improve a little bit tomorrow. It should go a little more quickly because I have done some improvements in chapter 1, and I just want to see if there's anything I missed. I also want to take a look at the chapter overall, because when I was line editing the last few days, I took a very almost microscopic view of my work, and I only focused on paragraph by paragraph. And what I noticed is a lot of times I would write something, and then if I looked back up at the paragraph above or 2 paragraphs above, I wrote the same thing. So my mind was very focused on trying to improve each paragraph and not really focusing on how does that affect the rest of the story going on around it. And what I want to do tomorrow when I redo my line editing for chapter 1 is to really take a look at the whole chapter and be like, did I repeat this 2 paragraphs later? Am I using the same words 2 paragraphs later? I caught myself doing that a few times. I'm going to take the rest of the night off because I want to take a break. And I'm going to enjoy my cookies. I'm going to keep reading my book, which is really good, by the way, and just enjoy the night. And I will get back to line editing tomorrow. Done line editing. This was so much work, so much more work than I thought it would be. I actually really am a lot happier than I was yesterday. Yesterday I was feeling pretty bleak after my line editing, and this afternoon I feel a lot better. I managed to go through the first chapter in probably about 3 hours, and what was helpful was I've done a lot of the work already, right? I did it over the last few days, and so when I was going through, I wasn't thinking about how do I fix the plot or how do I do XYZ for the character. I was solely focused on how do I make this sound better. And I even think I figured out my first paragraph, which is mind-blowing because I always struggle with the first paragraph, and I think I finally figured out how to start it. I was so excited when I figured it out. I've just spent so long on this freaking first paragraph, and I finally got it. So overall, I have 3,102 words in chapter 1, which means I have added 1,000 words to chapter 1. That's not exactly what I was supposed to do, but it happened. And it makes me a little concerned because when I start line editing the rest of the book, if I add 1,000 words to every chapter, that's gonna be, I don't remember how many chapters this is, but it's over 40. If I was to add 1,000 words to every chapter, it would be like another 40,000 words in this book. I can't do that. I'm a little nervous about how this will go in the future because I added so much stuff to the first chapter. I do think it sounds a lot better though. I will say that. I'm really happy with the chapter today, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. As far as the line editing experience overall, it was a really good experience. I'm not gonna say it was, I enjoy doing the process of line editing, but I don't feel like I'm knowledgeable about it enough to actually, for it to have made a huge impact on me and my work. I'm a lot happier with this chapter, but it's still not very perfect. As I've said from day 1, this is a practice exercise for me about line editing. And now I kind of know where I need to improve, and I know how I approached line editing, and I can work on fixing that in the future. And next time I try to line edit, I'm definitely going to do a better job. But it was fun. It was fun to take one chapter and focus solely on one chapter and go back and revisit it for a few times and try and make the words sound better. And I've never really done that in writing before. I've always just sat down and written like a sprint, and then I've never really looked at the work again. I mean, I've looked at it for like reading the draft after I'm done with it, but I've never sat down and tinkered with anything. And I did enjoy the process. Even though I wasn't good at it, I did enjoy it. Thanks for joining me through this line editing journey and with my fall activities, and I will see you in the next writing vlog.